Okay, Danny D. It is the end of August now, so we're going to look at July numbers. I saw you sent me that in an email. Thank you for always doing that. Now, quick recap. We did have a little dip in June, right? So I'm curious to know what happened here. You want to lay it on me?
Yep. Let's get into it. We'll show you some of the graphs and the charts and stuff. Yeah, we had a little bit of a dip in June, and things have rebounded in July. So we're actually up when you look at the total number of homes that were sold, up 5% from that June number. And then, of course, if you scroll all the way back to the left, you can see that we're up actually 11% year over year. So coming in close to 2,400 homes sold. The current inventory is just under 3,000 active listings as we kicked off the month here. And that's 1.25 months of supply, which is maybe more than we've had recently. But historically, 1.25 months of supply is still very much a seller's market. That's not a ton of supply out there at this rate of consumption.
Yeah. We are seeing more come on the market, and well, we'll talk about it later, but there's been a little change in the interest rates. But I'm looking at your list price versus sales price chart, and that took a little dip. I'm a little surprised there.
Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, if you look at the shape of this, we rolled this back more than just the rolling 12-month view, just so you can kind of start to see the seasonal pattern of it all. And if you look back to 2023, and you can start to see that things really pick up in April and then May, into the normal heavy sales season, they kind of go up and over a crest and then down a little bit in July. Well, now look over to the right side. This year, very similar pattern. So the question for us is, are we going to have that little bump in August like we saw last year, where things jump back up to the high levels of kind of the spring and early summer, or are we here for a little bit? But the other notable thing about this chart, I think, is just you look at the size of those, or the height of those kind of those peaks, and you can see that even though we're down slightly month over month this year, we're down about $8,000 or 2% from last month. We're still up 5% from last year. So that's about $19,000 on the average sale price.
Yeah, average is 405 or 400,000 rather in the month of July in Central Ohio. It's a big deal. Average price for a home in Central Ohio is $400,000 now. That's big. That's a big change. Percentage over and under asking, that's about as expected. A little bit more are selling below average, but the days on the market was a little surprising to me too. Ticked up just a notch, but ticked down on the average, Danny.
Yeah, so I mean, this is all, and those are, we're talking the difference between 19 days versus 20 versus 21. I mean, it's been pretty flat for the last several months. And again, if you look back to last year, that's about where things kind of bottomed out, during the very busy season. So we'd expect that from here, the whole market's going to kind of slow down as we get into the fall and winter. Gradually, you'll start to see the days on market will go up, just like last year and the year before and the year before. And some of these other numbers will start to go through their seasonal patterning. But this is very consistent with where we've been now for several months. And things are still moving, all in all, relatively quickly.
Yeah, and I wonder, we do have a higher amount of homes with price reductions, 24 over 20 last month, but the interest rate is going down, and that's all over the news. So our inventory is up, rates are down a little bit, in line with your chart here of where we were, what's that, 14, 15 months ago? I wonder how that's going to affect our overall volume, those two things in combination. Obviously they're still skewing towards the seller's market, but that's a good sign for all the people that are house hunting out there. That combination is a very positive change for buyers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've talked about over the last year or more now, this whole lock-in effect, where you've got some folks that are in a house, or many people that are in houses right now where they're locked into these great interest rates of 3%, 4%, maybe even below 3%. And they just don't want to give that up, or they just frankly can't afford even the same house at the new rate. And so I think that math is very real for a lot of people that are looking to maybe step up to a bigger home purchase. And for every little bit that that rate goes down, I think there's a segment of that group that says, you know what, now I can make that leap. I've gotten a promotion, or whatever's changed in their life. They've got enough equity in their home now that they can maybe put more down in the new house. Whatever the math is for that little segment of this group, I think they're going to start to do that. The thing is, though, when you think about what that does for supply and demand, is they're now bringing one more home that's supply, but then they're also creating one more home of demand. The real movement's going to come from the people that are on the sidelines right now that maybe are first-time home buyers, or other folks that aren't currently homeowners for whatever reason. Maybe they got out a year or two back when they thought the market was at its peak, and since then they've been kind of waiting for the right moment. I think those are the people that are going to start to come in terms of a higher level of demand and take up some of that supply. So it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, for sure. So on the average, as a closing thought, the Fed has basically said it's time, and they didn't indicate what, but everybody knows it's time to start bringing the interest rates down. Market's been accounting for that a little bit. We're on average about 6.5 right now, but that's down from a high of 8%. And that's a lot more palatable to the people you're referring to, the ones on the sidelines that are kind of wait to see how it would go. We expect this to go down a little more, maybe significantly more, hopefully, and a lot more inventory will join us when that happens. So we'll keep it, we'll stay tuned and see how the rates move the market, because we're starting to wrap up the busy season, and we'll just have to see where we go into the fall. As always, Danny Deep, thanks so much for pulling numbers, and we will see you next month.